So today we asked the question, would you rather live near a volcano or an earthquake? And although there's no definite answer to this because it does depend on lots of factors, and I'll talk about in a separate video, I wanted to share some of my thoughts. So to be perfectly honest, if it was me, I'd probably live near a volcano. The reason for this is that we get better prediction of a volcano. It's easier to tell when it's going to happen. There's a little bit more warning because the volcano will show signs like bulging, or we might get gases escaping from it, might get temperature changes in thermal pools around it. Whereas an earthquake, we get very little warning at all. There's only one earthquake that's been predicted successfully in all of time that we know of, and they happen very quickly. Now we call this the speed of onset. So the speed of onset is quicker for an earthquake than a volcano. Therefore, I'd rather live near a volcano because I'd have a little bit more warning. Also, in terms of a volcano, generally less people die, and statistically over time less people have died through volcanic eruptions than through earthquakes, so that's another reason. If I was going to be more specific about my volcano, I would live by a shield volcano with runny lava, one that happened at either a hotspot or a constructive plate boundary where the magma was coming directly up from the mantle. Runny lava explodes, well, it doesn't really explode at all. It's got a VEI scale of 0, so it erupts would be a better word, very frequently, letting out the magma easily and quickly. Obviously you wouldn't want to be near that, but it's an easy thing to avoid. Stickier lava from destructive plate boundary tends to clog up the volcano and cause a volcanic plug, and then it remains dormant. So somewhere like Mount Vesuvius remains dormant for a long period of time. People get complacent about it, and as a result they're not prepared when the eruption happens. Also, these type of eruptions are explosive, higher VEI scale, maybe 4 or 5. They produce pyroclastic flows, volcanic ash, volcanic bombs, and affect a much larger area. So I wouldn't really want to live next to one of those. Maybe I'd take my chance with an earthquake. Obviously with an earthquake it depends on whether you live in a developed country or a developing country. Developed countries are much better prepared for earthquakes, so that buildings can withstand the shock. Less developed countries tend to be cheaper building materials, and so there tends to be more casualties. So again, I'd live in a volcano if I lived I'd live near a volcano if I lived in a developing world. Possibly that might be again my preference. So we can argue either ways. There's several things we need to think about, but hopefully that helps you a little bit with the decision, which hopefully you'll never have to make, but at least it gets you thinking about the different types of tectonic hazard, volcanoes and earthquakes.